on the brink of a recession, but this government pretends that everything is fine. Canadian stocks are crashing with the biggest drop since 1987. For every dollar Canadian households bring in, they have $1.75 in consumer debt. Unemployment is higher than most G7 countries, and 76% of Canadians are worried about losing their job. If the government won't accept that there's a problem, how will they ever work to fix it? When will this government abandon its failed economic policies and change course?
The coronavirus is having a serious impact on the global economy and on the Canadian economy. Canada's strong fiscal position means we have the firepower to support our economy, and we will. Measures we take will include, but not be limited to, supporting workers and parents who have to miss work in order to prevent the spread of the virus, supporting our excellent healthcare system. We are prepared to act, and we are.
Over the past few years, we've made investments in the Canadian economy that have seen 1.2 million jobs added, including more than 30,000 in the past months alone. We've also seen more than 1 million people lifted out of poverty, and if he doesn't want to take my word for it, I direct him to the report of the Parliamentary Budget Officer, who confirmed that we have enough space in our budget to respond with the firepower we need in the event of a downturn. These things don't happen by accident. They happen because we've been putting measures in place to grow the economy and support Canadians.
They added almost $100 billion of new debt. They ground economic growth to 0.3%. They shut down $150 billion worth of projects, all before the coronavirus problem even began. How could they have left common sense behind and made us so weak and vulnerable?
If you look at the record, while he was sitting around the cabinet table in the previous government, they added $150 billion to our nation's debt and had the lowest rate of economic growth since the Great Depression.
I'm glad that he brought up our record, because in the first 2 years after we took office, we did what his grandfather would have done. We paid off $40 billion of debt to prepare for the crisis that we knew would one day come. And as a result, we had a buffer. We were prepared, and we had the strongest economy in the G7.
We know that almost all confirmed cases have been from those entering Canada from high-risk areas. Yet this government continues to claim that the problem is not at our borders. Is the minister prepared to enforce the Quarantine Act and issue measures such as mandatory quarantine from those entering from high-risk areas?
I encourage the member opposite to review the Quarantine Act, and he will see that, in fact, we've been using it extensively. When we ask people to self-isolate from affected regions for 14 days, it requires a mandatory check-in with public health, which then actually continues to actually confirm that that person is complying with the self-isolation practices that are necessary. Mr. Speaker, we know that this virus knows no borders. We are very aware and alive to the supports that we need to provide at the local level.
This government assured Canadians our health system is well prepared to deal with the COVID-19 outbreak. But Healthcare Can, the advocacy group for Canada's hospitals, is warning our system is stretched too thin, with dangerous shortages of critical care beds and protective equipment. They're calling for increased federal funding and much more testing. Today we heard the first death from the virus in BC was confirmed, and we know things will get worse before they get better. Will the Liberals ensure hospitals have the resources they need to respond to COVID-19?
That's the work that we're conducting right now with provinces and territories to make sure that they have the capacity should they see a surge of illness in their communities that require increased hospitalization.